Yes, sir.
Which floor are you headed to?
28. I live here.
What kind of work do you do?
I work in law. I'm coming from the courthouse.
Okay. Let me see some identification.
By the time the footage was reviewed, 2 officers were terminated, federal indictments were issued, and the city was preparing for a 7-figure settlement tied to a single elevator ride. Before we go any further, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing. It's just after 9 on a weekday night when a resident returns home to a secured high-rise. The encounter begins quietly, inside an elevator monitored by cameras that never blink. Within minutes, routine questions harden into detention. Credentials are offered and dismissed. Authority is present, but ignored. What the officers don't realize is that the person they're cornering operates within the very system that will soon evaluate every word they speak and every decision they make. By the end of the night, internal reports are already forming, federal exposure is inevitable, and there is no path back to routine policing. This is a reconstructed reenactment based on a real, publicly reported case. The setting is ordinary by design. A luxury residential tower with controlled access, quiet hallways, and a reputation for discretion. Residents pay for privacy, and the building delivers it until it doesn't. On this night, a resident steps into a private elevator after a full day of work at the federal courthouse. She is dressed professionally, carrying a briefcase, moving with the practiced calm of someone accustomed to authority being recognized without explanation. 2 patrol officers enter at the last second. Their assignment is unrelated, a noise complaint several floors below. There is no report involving the upper residences. No alert, no description. The elevator doors close. The first question comes quickly and without necessity. Which floor? The resident answers plainly. The second question follows, equally unjustified. What kind of work? The resident responds carefully, stating she works in law and has just left the federal courthouse. The exchange should end there. It doesn't. The officers reposition themselves, closing space. The elevator camera records the shift in posture, the subtle change from neutral presence to investigative stance. No policy allows for this. No suspicion exists. Still, the questions continue. Identification is demanded. The resident complies, handing over a valid driver's license showing her name and address within the same building. Everything checks out. The document confirms residency. At this point, the encounter should terminate immediately. It doesn't. Instead, the identification is withheld. The justification offered is verification with building management, an assertion unsupported by any call, request, or protocol. The resident remains inside the elevator as it continues upward, unaware that the decision to prolong the stop has already crossed into documented misconduct. This footage would later be reviewed frame by frame. The elevator stops between floors. The emergency button has been pressed. The space becomes confined by design, removing witnesses and exits at once. Questions escalate from identification to implication. Late hours are treated as suspicious. Professional composure is reframed as evasiveness. A lawful refusal to consent to a search is recorded as noncompliance. Authority is present here. It is offered calmly, indirectly, and without confrontation. It is ignored. By the time the officers demand a search without cause, the violation is no longer technical. It is categorical. Every decision is now creating a record that cannot be erased. The elevator remains still. The choice has already been made. Credentials are offered again, this time more clearly. The resident explains her work schedule, her return from court, the reason for the late hour. None of it alters the officer's posture. The refusal to accept lawful explanations becomes deliberate. What could have been resolved with a simple apology is now reframed as resistance. A search is demanded without cause. The resident declines, citing her rights. The refusal is calm, measured, and legally correct. It is treated as provocation. One officer seizes the personal bag and empties it onto the elevator floor. Personal effects scatter across the confined space. Keys, documents, medications, each item visible to the camera. Among them is official identification that resolves the encounter instantly. It identifies a sitting federal judge. There's a pause. The footage captures it clearly. Recognition flashes, followed by calculation. At this point, policy violations are already documented. The lawful response is immediate disengagement and supervisor notification. Instead, the decision is made to deny reality. The identification is declared fraudulent. The claim is unsupported and reckless. The accusation escalates from suspicion to felony allegation in seconds. The resident is informed she will be detained for impersonating a federal official. Each refusal is now a recorded decision. Radio traffic begins. Dispatch is advised of a detention based on fabricated grounds. The elevator resumes movement, but not toward the resident's floor. It descends. Backup is requested. The narrative is set. What is happening here is no longer a misunderstanding. It is an intentional construction of justification after the fact. The officers are no longer trying to be right. They're trying to avoid consequence. Witnesses wait below. Cameras cover the lobby. The institutional exposure widens with every passing second. The elevator doors open. The scene spills into a public space. Supervisors arrive. Credentials are reviewed by someone who understands their weight. Verification takes minutes. The answer is definitive. The earlier choice to double down eliminates all remaining off-ramps. By the time confirmation comes through official channels, the situation has already crossed from misconduct into criminal exposure. The paper trail has begun. Identity is confirmed through official channels, not informally, not verbally, through direct verification with the federal courthouse. The credentials are authentic. The authority is real. The detention was unlawful from the first unnecessary question onward. This is the moment where trained officers are expected to stop, to document, to disengage, to preserve what remains of their careers. They don't. Instead, the denial hardens. The explanation shifts again. What began as a noise complaint morphs into vague claims of suspicious behavior. Timelines don't align. Statements contradict the video. Dispatch logs no longer match what the cameras show. Supervisors are now present, and the room changes immediately. The tone shifts from control to panic. One officer insists the detention was standard procedure. Another claims the credentials were only questioned, not dismissed. Both claims collapse under the weight of recorded evidence. Body-worn audio captures the accusations. Elevator cameras capture the search. Lobby cameras capture the restraint. A recording device, activated earlier, unnoticed, captures everything else. From this moment on, there was no version of events where this ended quietly. Internal protocols require immediate reporting of any law enforcement interaction involving a member of the federal judiciary. That report is now unavoidable. Calls are made upward, not within the department. Beyond it, the matter leaves municipal control almost instantly. The resident stands aside as supervisors confer. She is no longer answering questions. She is documenting outcomes. Badges are removed. Weapons are secured. Statements are postponed pending counsel. The officers are separated. The crowd watches as the posture reverses completely. Authority no longer asserted, but assessed. Every step taken after confirmation compounds exposure. Every sentence spoken is discoverable. Every attempt to reframe is contradicted by footage. What began inside a private elevator is now a federal civil rights case with multiple evidence streams, third-party witnesses, and zero ambiguity. There is no discretionary warning left to issue. There is no internal fix available. The system has engaged. Federal investigators take control within hours. Jurisdiction shifts immediately, not by request, but by mandate. The evidence package is complete before the sun comes up. Elevator surveillance, lobby cameras, dispatch recordings, radio traffic, supervisor statements, and independent audio documenting the encounter in real time. Termination notices are issued before the internal review concludes. Both officers are removed from duty without administrative delay. Their certifications are suspended pending federal outcome. The department issues a public acknowledgement of documented misconduct tied to unlawful detention, illegal search, and fabricated probable cause. Indictments follow. Charges include deprivation of civil rights under color of law, false imprisonment, conspiracy to violate constitutional protections, and obstruction through falsified reporting. Each count carries mandatory federal sentencing exposure. The trial is brief. The evidence is uncontested. The jury deliberates for hours, not days. Convictions are returned on all counts. Sentencing reflects aggravating factors: abuse of authority, racial profiling, intentional fabrication, and the targeting of a protected federal official inside her own residence. The court imposes 16-year federal prison sentences for each defendant. No concurrent relief, no suspension, no early dismissal. The city settles the civil case for a 7-figure amount. Policy reforms are mandated. Federal oversight is imposed. Elevator and residential policing protocols are rewritten. Mandatory body-worn camera activation policies are expanded. Failure to intervene clauses are strengthened. The department does not appeal. The footage is released publicly. Training academies adopt the case as required study. Judicial security standards are reviewed nationwide. The professional fallout extends beyond the individuals. Supervisory discipline follows, and command staff issue formal testimony before oversight committees. The footage was public. The decision was permanent.